I am
Andrew Shikamike.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Eric, Janet, and Mariam. My name is Andrew Ranja, as you said, and I am excited to be here to talk about integrity. I think we need to make integrity cool in this country. That's where we have to start. And the challenge is that we've had is, we're struggling with corruption. We know this. We have eaten the effects of corruption. And even when you look at our governance issues, at the core of it is corruption. But then we're saying that we want people to have integrity, but integrity is boring. The truth, that's just the truth. You're telling me to wait in the line. You're telling me to wait for my turn. If we are in traffic, you're telling me that, if other people are overlapping, I stay in the queue. Mm-hmm. You're telling me that, people are looking to be making money out there and cutting corners, but you're telling me, just stick to your lane and just work hard. Mm-hmm. And so
4-meter jeeper, kazi tajipa.
I know, over time, and we have this thing, God's timing, and so you're just waiting and waiting. And so integrity doesn't look attractive. And so our vision, what we want to do, I am part of a team that has decided that we're going to make integrity look cool. How we're going to do it is we're going to identify people in society who are doing the right thing. Because they're there. It looks like everyone is stealing, everyone is bribing and those kind of things, but there are people who care about integrity and want to do things right, waiting for their turn. You make them treasurer in your WhatsApp groups and they account for everything and they just do a good job. They are teachers, they are farmers, they are doctors, and we need to be able to identify these people, spotlight them, highlight them, treat them as the champions that they are in our communities. Why? So that we can begin to inspire our nation towards integrity and to look up to these people as the example of what we should be. And I believe that if we go that way, if you highlight these people, if we champion these people, we'll demonstrate the power of integrity. We will demonstrate that, yes, the best things that come in our lives come through integrity. The people we trust. There's an integrity relationship. Your best friend, there's integrity. Yeah. So this is what we're doing, and I'll just give you an example of how this how this works. Assume that you're in traffic, or maybe standing at a street junction. Let's say a place where there's a traffic light. Jaya Junction, and the traffic light turns red, and 10 cars pass. There's 10 cars. For every group of 10 cars, there is 3 cars or 3 drivers who that traffic light might as well be a tree. They haven't seen it. They are just going to drive past it, and it doesn't matter. And it looks like everyone does that in Kenya, but it's not true. It's just the 3. There's a small minority that does that. But there's 2 drivers who will always stop. The traffic light is red, and so I am supposed to stop. So you have 3 on one side, and you have 2 on the other side, out of 10.
5 out of 10.
Yes, so now you have 5 out of, but there's a majority of 5 who, depending on the opportunity, depending on whether Eric is in front of me and has stopped, maybe I'll stop. Okay. But if Peter is ahead of me and he has, I will follow. And so this majority 5, for them, if there's a police officer, they might stop. So they are...
they sway with the wind.
They sway with the wind. We have an opportunity to sway those guys, to inspire that 5 towards integrity. And to convince them that this is how we should go. So I think if we apply that principle across the board in our professions, in our homes, in our neighborhoods, we'll be able to disrupt corruption cycles in our country. And there is a straight line from me acting with integrity, personal integrity, to my neighborhood, to my community, to my country. And so we are hoping that we will trigger an integrity revolution that will disrupt everything, including the politics of our country. And
Integrity revolution.
An integrity revolution.
How do we make integrity cool? In a country where integrity is often compromised, you want to do the right thing, and you're in many rooms and situations where you're almost forced to adjust to doing something wrong. We've talked about this, I think, a few times with Eric and Mariam and a few other people, where there's those who want to do the right thing. You want to wait at the traffic light, get to where you're going. You don't want to overlap, you're late.
Right.
You don't want to bribe a police officer. You don't want to do all those things. And then in a strange twist of fate, all of that ends up affecting you. How can people stand in their integrity, even when everything and everyone around them is forcing them to think twice or to second guess doing the right thing?
I think the starting point, is first helping, because when you're trying to start with integrity, stand for integrity, you end up looking like the foolish one. You end up, Eric mentioned that I was on the campaign trail, and many times I was insulted. It's almost like, don't you understand? As
How
they
things
say,
work,
rada, like, don't you understand what's going on? And you end up feeling isolated. You feel like, and of course there are some consequences, because you might finish last, but eventually it works out. So I, for example, when I ran for office in Kiambu in 2013, I didn't win. But the journey inspired me to start talking about my leadership journey, to write a training manual for young people. And out of that was born an organization called Taifa Teule Network, where we train youth on leadership, governance, and community service. So I got 700 votes when I lost the election, but we have graduated over 4,000 young people in a leadership program. So did I really lose? I actually won. And so we need to spotlight those kind of stories so that we encourage people that, yes, it looks painful, ni dawa. It's like you want to get better as a country, but you need the injection. You need to feel a little pain so that you can get better and you can grow.
No pain, no gain.
Inject, right? I want to paint a picture for you. I'm Sally, 24, did what was required of me, went to school, got a higher diploma, decided, I'm going out into the workforce. It's been 2 years, nada. I think I'm a person of integrity, but it's getting to a point where all my friends who are doing FX scams, we can call them businesses, but really it's an FX scam. They're balling out of their minds, right? They live outside of home, first of all. They've managed to leave their parents' house, which is like already a big deal, which it shouldn't, right? They're driving really nice cars, living la vida loca. They're in Diani today, Dubai tomorrow. I want to be a person of integrity, but I do not see a future in which I can make that kind of money with my higher diploma. It would take me to even buy a Vitz, leave alone a Mercedes, leave alone something else. It would take me 10 years, right? And then if I'm thinking I want to be able to live a kind of life where, should I need to take a breather? I can. Do I need to provide for my family? Do I need to jenga a home in Ushago? I can, without straining myself financially, right? I've done what was required. It's just not looking possible that with my education, with my timing, I can be a person of integrity. My friends are very open to having me join their little cohort of Forex traders, and the opportunity is there for me. Why would I choose integrity? What's in it for me?
And yes, a tough question, and a situation that many of us find ourselves in, especially in our professions. I'm a lawyer in my other life. And if you know anything about the legal profession, it can be messy. And we do have a long way to go in terms of integrity. There's many times when a client will come to me and they want something done, and they want something done quickly. And the nature of the legal work is that you interact with a lot of government offices, and efficiency is a challenge in government offices. So quick turnaround time just doesn't work unless you're willing to give some money to facilitate, which is bribing, and there's lack of integrity. And I have had to turn away clients and lose that business. But it's interesting. Sometimes they will go to another lawyer and they will start the process and get stuck and come back to me. Sometimes there's clients who bring their issues to me just because they've heard this guy does things right. And people naturally care about integrity. So think about if you're going to your lawyer and you're taking very sensitive things. You've been saving for 5 years, 10 years to buy a house. You don't want to gamble that with some guy who's going to cut corners. You will look for the right person. And so maybe it is having just a longer term view that, eventually these things work out. The other interesting thing is that everything that is good in our life is based on integrity. Every good relationship, your best friend, they are your best friend because you trust them. When you save up and buy a 3 million shilling car, like, we are wanting to do as middle class, you will take it to some guy at the car wash called Omosh, who you don't know who he is, but you know I can trust this guy. And you will leave that car there for 2-3 hours and go on errands. You're leaving your 3 million asset with Omosh or Peter because he's trustworthy. He's acting with integrity. When you go to a restaurant, you have to trust the chef and believe that he's going to give you food that will not hurt you, that will not cause you problems. You get into a bus to drive to Mombasa, you want to believe that the driver knows what he's doing, he will act with integrity. So everything that is good in our lives is founded on integrity. And that is what we want to tell people. We're not asking you to do something that you've never done before. Yeah. This is us.
Should we put a penalty on people who don't follow through with integrity? I have a personal, look at me now, personal story. And sometimes I'm wondering whether also the systems, also break the systems, should have a penalty. When I was in South Africa, I struggled with a work permit, extending my work permit. So I'd go there to Home Affairs at 5 a.m. in the winter. Hey, those were the days. And you wait in line, and people go, they come out. You go the next few days. I would find that I'm the only constant person until one guy was just like, do you not know what you need to do? Oh. Do you not know what you need to do to be able to... You're not doing this. Now, first I was scared because I was like, this is not my country. If I do that, I'll be deported.
I don't know what a South African jail looks like. I don't want to find out.
My point is, I did follow through and saying, I'll be patient. I'll try and find the right ways. Eventually learned that there was, I think at the time, the new head of permits said he was sitting on 15 to 20,000 permits that were not approved because, unfortunately, there was elements of xenophobia attached to it. But at the end of it, even when I got it, I was already jaded. I was so jaded, I was just like, you guys, cool, I'm going back home. So I was patient enough to use the right route, but I grappled with feeling foolish and grappled with saying, I could have just done the wrong thing, had the permit earlier, and been able to extend my stay in the country. So it was strange. It was a very strange conflict within me that said, no, you did the right thing. You went and sought counsel, you sought guidance, you called as many people as you could, and eventually you got your permit. I still had a bitter taste in my mouth. And I thought to myself, man, those people who sat on those permits, that's the kind of thing that makes people compromise integrity. You want to do the right thing, but it ends up costing you.
Right.
So I get patience. I can be patient. But I also get how some people end up feeling like, man, I was so foolish to have given in when I could have gotten somewhere. So that's the situation. And sometimes I wonder, do we need to then measure and penalize those who compromise people's integrity?
I think we could do that because think about the my traffic light example, these 10 drivers. And you have the 3 guys who are just, who will see that a tree instead of a traffic light. And you have the 2 guys who will comply. And you have these 5 people who can be inspired. I believe that there's an opportunity to inspire these 5 people so that you sway them. Now, if you get a total of 7 people eventually complying, inspired to comply, believing in this thing, we shall isolate those 3 guys. And suddenly, what looks like an overwhelming problem of lack of integrity in our country, we have isolated the 30%. And maybe even that 30% will be like, hey, hapa ni kubaya. So you might end up with only 2 guys, and then now it is easier to punish those 2 guys.
Ranja, I answer this question directly. Should we punish those with low integrity?
Yes.
Okay.
For example, if I want to run for office and like I've run before, and I'm asking for votes. I think Kenyans should punish me if I have lacked integrity in my past. I should not get voted for. I think if we're able to isolate that minority, because there are a minority who are making money through tenderpreneurship, kickbacks, they should be punished. They should be denied access to, they should be kicked out of the supplier list for our corporates. Yes.
So it's already happening. Those examples that you've given, actually, it's already happening.
Yeah.
So our society is a reward, incentivize, punish system that we already have. You want to seek any office, chairman of the cattle dip, right? People will reward you based on one of the things that they'll consider is your integrity. So they'll say, yes, we'll reward you by actually electing you to be our leader, or we punish you by saying, no, please don't ever even think about bringing such anything, right?
Yeah.
So we're already doing it. In that example that you've given us, the traffic, there will be a police officer who is given the mandate to enforce the law, and that police officer will arrest those who flout the traffic regulations, and they'll be taken to court, and they will be punished, and the punishment is in law, right? We already do it. We already promote and punish those without integrity. So how should we do it different this time? Clearly, what we have, our status quo, is not helping us. We end up with 3 people recruiting 5. We end up with 8 people who jump the lights.
And the 2 looking mad.
Yes.
Well, I think there is a need to shift perspective. The idea of punishing people is good on the face of it. It makes sense. However, it shifts the responsibility for integrity from me and makes me now go around looking for who doesn't have integrity. We need to punish them. And what has ended up happening in the history of our country is that we have created all these external structures. We have Chapter 6 in our Constitution, talking about integrity. So we are creating a structure for integrity. We have the Leadership and Integrity Act. We have the Ethics and Anti-Corruption. So we have all these external structures to catch and punish people who are not acting with integrity. But we're saying, okay, stop looking outward, look at yourself. For example, if your house is dirty, and it's smelly and things are bad, what is the solution? Is the solution to get another structure, like buy another house? Or is the solution to clean out your house? So we are telling people, look at yourself, start from yourself. This idea that I'm going to go, because where does it stop? How do you now start looking at that person? We're saying, I'm challenging people, you let me do
You're talking about
thing.
an integrity score. You're talking about
we
scoring.
We already have it. Just like you said, you know why people clean their houses? It's you start from that point of, I want to live in a clean house, okay? But then there's the other aspect. I want my visitors to come and find a clean house.
Right. And to go and say, Eric is a
If
clean
your
guy.
visitors come and they don't find a clean house, you feel ashamed. You feel because they're judging you. We do that already. We already score one another.
So what do we need to do differently? How do we amp the ante
Right.
on fixing integrity?
And even then, we've agreed it's a risk, it's a reward incentivized system, right? When there is seemingly no reward for acting with integrity, why should we choose integrity? Because you've said long term it pays off. Long term it pays off, but not always, to be quite honest. There's no guarantee that doing the right thing gets you somewhere.
I'm still pushing him. What do you, I'm trying to get to where Eric is coming from in terms of we're already doing it. We already have that.
Right.
What's that extra injection that needs to happen to shake people into integrity?
I think we need to go radical.
Okay.
Right? I think we need to go radical in a way because we already have ways in which we are doing things, right? Like you've said, if you want to run for public office, you will be scored. The IEBC will ask the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, do you have anything on this person? Right? And that is saying, how do you rate this person? What is the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission mandated with? Integrity. You're asking, is this a person of integrity? There's already that, right? If you're applying for office, public office, there's already a score. They'll tell you, come with Number 1, ESCC clearance. Number 2, tax compliance certificate. Number 3, come with a certificate of good conduct from the police. Number 4, come with an NE from CRB showing that you don't have debt. And number 4, come with help certificate. And they'll use that. Hauna help, we dock points. Hauna tax compliance, we dock points. We are already doing it. We already have a score.
Okay.
Right? In the private sector, just like there's something called the Net Promoter Score. What's a Net Promoter Score? Net Promoter Score is where your customers rate your service, right? And companies go out there saying, you know, I got a very high Net Promoter Score. It's my customers are happy with my service. We're already rating. And all those is on the integrity, like you said. I will leave, I will go and sit here because I trust that they'll give me good food. And I'll give them a high Net Promoter Score. I'll score them highly on the quality of service. So, come to it. Why don't we just introduce a score on integrity? So it's not a score on credit. We have a credit score with CRB. If you go on to CRB this morning, they'll tell you how you're scoring in terms of your credit rating.
Yeah.
If you go on to KRA, they'll tell you how you're doing by giving you a tax compliance certificate. Then let's combine all those things and create something called an integrity score. Now, with that integrity score, then we start rewarding. Let's focus on the reward.
Okay.
We start rewarding. And I say, if I have a high integrity score, I walk around with a badge that is green. Mine is like, you know, those TripAdvisor things.
Like literally
in hotels.
a badge on your shirt.
A badge of honor.
You go with that thing on TripAdvisor in hotels and they have like a 9-star and say, you know, rated 9 on TripAdvisor. That's it.
Okay.
So I walk around with a rated 9 integrity score. If I'm doing 9 on the integrity score, I come and I find you on the queue at Huduma Center, and your score is 5, I jump you on the queue.
Wow.
Because you're promoting integrity. We are saying that somebody who has integrity is a better citizen of this country.
You've answered my question on reward.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there is no reward, why should I act with integrity?
I know Mariam's going to do feedback and we'll go to break. When we come back, I literally want us to try and set an example. I'll be the guinea pig.
Okay.
I'll be the guinea pig. We'll score and see whether it works, see who measures it, who gets to measure it.
Right.
Let's see how that goes.
What are they saying on the socials?
Daniel Simito and Dodo Omar are very happy. Daniel says, we're Team TLX with our founder. Dodo says, go Ranja. But I see someone saying the cost of, this is Don Sabo saying, Eric, in Kenya, the cost of one complying is too high, that those who do not are seen to be rewarded heavily. In this KK, serikali. And I think that's absolutely true. Kuna watu wa Stephanie Mburu anasema team siasa safi, maisha safi. That's what we're looking at. And of course, the fact that we are trying to get into it, anasema pia to inject, that's Daniel Crispa saying, I love the analogy ya inject kama dawa.
Yes.
That's exactly what we're doing. So thank you so much for your feedback. Keep it coming. Also tell us what's up on 0112 500 400 0112 500 400. We'll be back after this.
Hey, yo, what's up? This is Oponyakolo Eugene from Riara Gardens, and I'm here just wondering, and I have questions in my mind. You can see the government led by President Ruto is forming their own team for 2027 elections. You can see the opposition led by Kalonzo Musyoka and Rigathi Gachagua and Eugene Wamalwa. They are forming their team. Which team are we forming as young people? Where are we as youth? Yet this country is composed of 70% of the young people. Where are we?
Good morning. Wake up. Chugai, Kivu Meru hapa hivi. Tuko na deals, tuko huku Maua Massives, you know, Meru of course. Tuko juu ya mamiti, tunajituma, fixing the nation. Sini watu wa stima, sinaget, tunekea watu wa Maua stima.
I'm Lazo from Kikuyu. I believe fixing the nation requires inclusiveness and identity, and I'm speaking on behalf of the street families, street youth who are most of the times denied access to ID cards by chiefs and the register of persons. So can the government fix this issue by allowing the chiefs and the register of persons to give ID cards to the street families?
Up Nation, WhatsApp Nation, fixing the nationwide conversation.
It
In India.
Yes.
Right. And we like it so much. You know, the guy who's in Maua, receive your flowers.
Right? And it's a Kevo.
Yeah.
You know, the beauty about us being on every platform, Kevo and I have been saying good morning for 2 years on Nation FM. Sijaijua vile anakaa.
Do you?
Now I know how he looks.
What's up,
Thank you
Nation?
so much, Kevo. Umehamana sisi vile inafaa. Of course, same, we are on NTV, on Nation FM. We are on TikTok. We're on YouTube. You can find us on X as well. Yani, if there's an internet connection, tuko hapo. If there's a broadcast signal, uko hapo. And I'm seeing some of your comments on TikTok. Guys are watching in from Denver. That's Hamachi, and he's tuning in all the way from Denver, Watuariru, and saying good morning and a good job. And thank you so much. But also a big thank you to those who are top viewers. Omeshapewa star hapo. TikTok is like, you've been consistent at this. Kina Katola, Jane, Hamachi, Haron, Echi, Staka, Wei, Anke, Ngash, Chuchu, and Ben Ray. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate you.
All of you who are joining us, even those who are on X.
On X.
And there are many, right?
There's
there are
quite a
many
number
also
even
as well
on
YouTube. On YouTube, Victor Thuku says, way to go, Ranja. Everything good in life is based on integrity. Don Sabwa is still arguing on this point. He says, in Kenya, the cost of complying is too high. The constitutional bodies are so low that common Kenyans cannot believe in them. Well, it's not about the constitutional bodies and common Kenyans believing in them, but what is it that we are doing? This one is just basically being radical. How do we identify, how do we know what good integrity is? How do we promote that good integrity? The late Otieno Kajwang once said in Parliament, Mr. Speaker, is there a passionometer to know this is passion?
Yes.
You're speaking with so much passion. How do you know I'm speaking so much passion?
Right.
Is there a passionometer? So do we have an integronometer?
Integrity-nometer.
Right?
To measure integrity.
Yes.
Great question, honestly.
And that's why I'm saying, let's create one. We call it the integrity score.
Let's create one.
We'll be back because
Mariam is
Go on.
already like, I'm listing all
Yes,
the reasons
all the
why
reasons.
it shouldn't.
But go on.
I want to give a scenario,
Yeah.
a real one. As I'm a mom, I'm raising, let's say I'm raising my child. I go to work, they go to school, everything is good. I try really hard. I line up in the bank. I don't try to jump the queue. I don't overlap. I make sure that I'm patient. I'm living life right
Yep.
by good standards with integrity. I have my faith to lean on. I go to church, they go to Sunday school. So far, I'm just being patient. I'm a believer that you have to be patient. You have to be patient because good things come to those who wait. Suddenly, life throws me a spanner. I lose my job, and I'm not able to send my child to school. So they're staying home, I'm staying home. I have an opportunity to wait for another job, but now I'm getting desperate. My child isn't going to school. They're setting back on their grades. I'm now getting desperate to the point where I can't afford to put a meal on the table. That's where I've reached months later. I go to the supermarket one day. I'm just going through all the shelves and looking, and I see unga, and I look around, or I see a small packet of something, and I nick it and put it in my bag. I go down again, I see something for my child, I put it in the bag, and I've stolen. Somehow I get away with it. I go home, at least I have a meal, and at least my child has something for the night. I compromised everything, but I'm a good person who means well, who is trying to live on the straight and narrow. But life has lifed at me. Nobody's coming to my rescue. I need to figure out how to put something in my belly, and then need to figure out, and that now inspires me to say, I wonder what I can do for my kids' fees. I wonder what, I've waited for my sister to help me start coming through. I've waited for my uncle. The next day somebody says, you know, there's this thing a few of us do. We do it in the evening, so if you're game, and then if I do that,
I'll show you how.
I'll show you how. And I walk out with 50 to 60,000 shillings that day. And I'm able to pay for my child's school fees, and I'm able to pay for rent. Why should my score, why would that lessen my score when I was trying to live on integrity? If you look at my profile, let's say you have an integrity file of every Kenyan, and you're like, Janet, I can see that she was living on the straight and narrow, that she was trying to live right, but she ended up compromising that. But she compromised it because she didn't feel like she had another choice. Does she get a low score?
There's always justification, isn't there?
Does she get a pardon? Is there a pardon on
it's
this
not
score?
justification, Eric. It's contextualization.
So what happens to Janet?
Everybody contextualizes. All right.
And if I built up that
Everybody.
score to eventually be able to achieve something, suddenly you're
Yes.
saying we're taking you back to zero.
Right.
Is there a pardon to say we're taking you down 50 because we know you meant well? We're going to give you another chance. Just don't misbehave. Or are
Right.
you going to say, hey, X, you're going back to zero? How does the score work?
right?
Eric?
And that's the
how
thing.
does
But
the
before we
score
even go
count?
into how the score counts, Andrew, can we justify, that scenario that Janet has painted? And it's clear. I mean, I'm looking at my children, they're hungry. And I'm looking at that and I can see Unga. Unga, me, my children. Pick Unga, cook for my children. I've sorted out today. Is there justification for that? Is that a loss of integrity?
Can I be controversial?
Yeah.
Go.
There is a different angle to this. Janet said something about that lady, that mother who's struggling, that she's a woman of faith. Integrity is a statement of faith. You see, the way the world is rigged, the world systems are rigged by corruption. And so what will happen is if you attempt to work with integrity, attempt to operate with integrity, sometimes you will come up short. You will not be able to meet that bill. But it is in that gap. And we are a praying nation, we are 80% Christian. And if we really trust this God that we pray to, do we trust him to come through in that gap and sort that out?
We do.
So faith is basically trust and obedience.
Okay.
And so if you're acting with
requires
integrity,
a bit of action, right? Faith requires a bit of action as well.
that's true. So I have a different scenario where I've been, I've been arrested. I was walking in town, and this is just a scenario, and then I'm leaning on something on the curb. And there's a way you could, some of these cabs, the city council or city county guards will just arrest you because you put your foot there, you are resting your foot, you didn't realize. I've been arrested, I've put in this Maria, the truck. And it's 6 p.m. Mariamu. Yes.
See what you did there?
Yeah.
So-
That's actually what it's called.
Yeah, it's a Mariamu.
Yeah.
And now it's 6 p.m. I know how this goes. Either I come out of this truck with this Mariamu with 500 shillings or
Yeah.
1,000 shillings. Yes, or nilale ndani, and then I face a magistrate tomorrow. It is at that point when you have to make a decision. Will I stand for integrity? Will I refuse to give this bribe and say, liwe liwalo, I trust my God to help me through this process? And so the lack of integrity also puts in question, how much do we trust God to help us? Because there can be a miracle.
Or even
that guy
how much
can.
is this integrity thing of yours? I mean, is integrity a convenience?
Yes.
Or is integrity a value that you hold?
Yes.
Because if integrity is a value that you hold, then you live by that value.
Yes.
Right? No matter the circumstance, you try as much as possible, you're living by the value.
Yeah.
Now
So-
you ask
so
the
you
question of
starve to
how we score it.
No, you have faith.
And this,
Wait, Greg Ogola, I know. Sorry to interrupt, Latte, but he says if we are to do anything on integrity, the metrics of what is valuable have to change. Money should cease from being the standard of value. However, that is a radical view. Down, capitalism down.
Boo, viva.
Wow.
Agreed.
so here's my push again. Let me repeat.
Right.
And I don't know. My screen is not mirroring yet, but it's there. So, the Constitution mentions the word integrity 18 times. 3 of those are headlines, but many of the others are. Article 10 of our Constitution talks about national values and principles, and it puts integrity right there in it. Right? It says we shall live with integrity. Chapter 6 is all about integrity, okay? And we start defining how we shall live by integrity and so on and so forth, but also this one is looking more at leaders. Here is national values and principles of governance. Article 10, the national values and principles of governance in this article bind all state organs, state officers, public officers, and all persons whenever any of them breaks the laws. The national values and principles include C, good governance, integrity, transparency, and accountability, and sustainable development, all right? Then the other place, there is leadership and integrity. And leadership and integrity, we start talking about promoting leadership and integrity. The principles of leadership and integrity includes, how we determine that people have integrity. So the Constitution has already set this thing for us: integrity, integrity, integrity. And this is the basis with which we say public officers have got to present some certain score. Come with a tax compliance certificate, come with certificate from HELB that clears you and says that you have been duly repaying your HELB loans, come with a CRB certificate that shows that wherever else you borrow, you are a good person, that you actually pay on time. Come with something from the DCI called the certificate of good conduct that shows that the police have not investigated you and have not taken you to court on criminal, on breaking the law. You are a law-abiding citizen. So you see those ones, those are parameters. So our integrity score then brings in these parameters, and we add other parameters, not just for leaders, but for us as human beings.
Okay.
How then do we score in our society as a nation? When you get into any of these ride-hailing taxis, at the end, the driver tells you, "Sunipatia score." The app tells you, how do you rate the service? How do you rate the driver? How do you rate the border person?
Right.
We're already scoring one another based on the quality of service. Net Promoter Score, you walk into any of these hotels and restaurants, then they'll send you a message asking you, how do you rate the service that we gave you? 1, 2, 3. We're already scoring. Let's integrate, aggregate all those things, all right? You are a taxi driver with any of these ride-hailing apps, Uber, Bolt, and the others. Your score finds its way into this score. You are a lawyer. Your clients rate you as well on the satisfaction that they have with the work that you, the way you serve them. That comes into this score. So we're basically saying open source, crowdsourcing, integrity score. That there's somewhere where we are crowdsourcing integrity. You go in and you find Janet Bogwa, and Janet Bogwa's credit score is showing that, they scored 9 out of 10. Out of the 10 parameters, Janet scores highly, 5-star, 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 5-star in 9, and there's one where she scored a 3-star. In average, it aggregates and says, this is it, right? So Eric has an integrity score of X, Mariam has an integrity score of this, and it's all on parameters that we decided, because we've already decided, we already have them.
Right.
What does that give me
I have
access to?
Now let's reward.
Before we even get into that, I want to get into the score itself, and I have 2 really big problems with it.
Problem number 1.
When you're already in a society that has an integrity problem, adding an integrity score will only further the lack of integrity and the corruption, etc.
How?
Because every time you're faced with a situation where your integrity score could go lower, the need to keep it high because you're afraid of whatever consequences will befall you should your integrity score fall, that need will perpetuate corruption even further. If stopping at the traffic, if getting a traffic fine takes your integrity score a little bit lower, if crossing the road at the wrong place takes your score a bit lower, what will you feel the need to do immediately, even more so than before, is to just add a bribe to make sure that my integrity score stays here and all is well. That's problem number 1. We'll perpetuate corruption instead of perpetuating integrity. If I feel like every interaction has to be rated, then I feel more incentivized, unfortunately, because we already know as a people we have an integrity problem. I'll feel more incentivized to do the bribery. That's problem number 1. Number 2, there's a domino effect that comes from these things. When I have a bad integrity score because of something that was maybe not my fault, a terrible rating here, I was a mom, like Janet was saying, just needing to put food on the table, and now my integrity score is lower. I can't access credit. Perhaps I can't get a job. I can't, That then leaves me in a position to do other things that take my integrity score lower. I'll just be like, okay, maybe I need to steal again because now I can't get into the interview that will potentially get me to the job that would get me to the place where I no longer need to steal. What are my options?
Double-edged sword.
It's a double-edged sword. It's a domino effect. Low integrity score leading to lower integrity. It's like a credit score almost. I am in debt.
Yes.
So now I am borrowing. So now I'm borrowing to pay the other debt. Yes. Then I'm borrowing. I'm taking from Janet to pay Eric. Yes. Then I take from Andrew to pay Eric and Janet a little bit.
Before Ranja and Eric cycle. Just even react to Mariam, Nyambura, Kawara, Eric, taking the integrity score would be incredible, but how do we make it sustainable beyond the numerical value? Integrity papers, for example, good conduct. The risk of bias and manipulation, how? That's what Mariam said. Benjamin says, our systems are altered or alterated to hurt those who live in integrity and convince every other person that if they don't, then it's more of like an inconvenience. So similar to what Mariam is saying, but I think thank you guys for sending your thoughts and views on integrity score and the radical idea to score everything. Keep them coming on YouTube and across social media. Ranja, Eric, your reactions to what Mariam is saying.
I think, Eric, you're onto something. And it's not novel. Like you've said, if taxi hailing applications, there's a system of scoring. I think that maybe there is even at industry level or at professional level. Like I said, I think lawyers definitely need an integrity score, and it is. If I have a good interaction with someone, I should be able to say I've had a good interaction with this person. They acted with integrity, and that can be spread at industry level. With bankers, with doctors, and those kind of things. So we can create a system like that. There is also the crowdsourcing part of it is what is especially attractive to me, because I'll use the example of, and I'm not here to plug them, but we have this platform called Ushahidi, which was created back around the time we were having post-election violence. And the way the platform works is that if there is violence in your area or an incident, you can take a picture or send an SMS, and it's all these messages are aggregated from the ground by random people, and the people who are running the platform can tell there's an incident here, and we can call the police there. So we could tweak that concept so that incidences of integrity are captured by people, stories of integrity, acts of integrity. However, I think the challenge with the integrity score, like Mariam said, is if you go negative, then, and you start saying these people need to be punished, if you go the punishment way, then we start looking for how do we evade the punishment. And so if I were to apply it, I would go the opposite way.
Punishment by doing the right thing.
I was going to say,
aren't you guys seeing this point?
It's really not that simple, guys. We've just established it's not as simple as
maybe
I'll do the right thing.
Maybe we need to make it simple.
Time.
Maybe we need to force people to think twice about doing something.
But how about we inspire them?
You see, I'm coming from the point of actually inspiring. And that's why I'm saying, if you have a high integrity score, right, then there are benefits to it. You're a lawyer. I go onto the LSK platform and I'm shopping for a lawyer. I look for a lawyer with a high integrity score. I'll give them work.
Yes.
Now, if you've been scored by, it's not just one vote that docks your points, right? It's one vote that then affects others and others and others. And this algorithm is basically looking at how many people have said, on average, that Mariam is did something. So if your integrity score keeps dropping, then there's something. There's an issue. Everywhere we do, we score each other on a daily basis. Referral system. If I came to you, Mariam, today and asked you, Mariam, where can I get a good pen? You are doing a score.
Or a good fundi. Or a good fundi.
I am.
You're basically saying that this fundi is good.
Yes.
Anashona vizuri.
Yeah.
And he keeps time.
Yes.
Delivers on time, never lies, does not overcharge. And those are the parameters that you are using, right?
In your lawyer
now, imagine, okay,
example,
let's go into the lawyer
example. In your lawyer example, this is the other side of it, right? I'm going online to look for a lawyer with a great integrity score.
Yes.
Fantastic. I find one. I find Eric 8 stars. I'm like, wonderful.
Find Ranja. He's a lawyer. We have a lawyer,
actually,
right?
Perfect, yes. Ranja, I find you 8 stars, 9.5 star. What does that also mean? Because Ranja knows he has a great integrity score, he's going to charge a premium for his service, right? And if my budget is a little bit constricted, I'll be able to maybe afford Eric, who doesn't have a great integrity score, and he knows that, so his charges are a little bit lower. So I go to Eric. Then, for example, no, let me finish. If it was a criminal case or whatever, maybe he doesn't have that high integrity score because he's not very motivated to do his work. Next thing, I'm in jail for a petty offense just because my lawyer didn't want to do the right thing because he just wasn't feeling motivated, because I couldn't afford the right lawyer, because he didn't have, he had a higher integrity score. Are you seeing how it spirals into, first of all, punishing poverty, punishing low integrity score? You see where I'm going.
And let me respond to this. So, Ranja has a high integrity score.
Okay.
The people who are scoring Ranja highly, because that's how he got there, were considering many things. How did he charge them? How did he bill them? Did he justify his billing? How did he do the job? Was he taking them through? I mean, did he appear in court on time? Did he represent them well? You know, scoring all those things, right? So it shows you that Ranja, on average, is not even somebody who looks at overcharging his clients. That's how come he ended up with a high score. And the moment you find that Ranja started scoring you, I mean, overcharging you, you give him 2-star.
Not overcharging, charging a premium. There's a difference. He knows I have a great integrity
lawyers,
score.
Lawyers have a scale
Yes.
for billing, right? So he's living by that scale. It's already been set by the Law Society of Kenya. There's a scale. So if he's charging you that, you're already looking at, okay, so he's charging me within the scale. I give him marks. He was polite, he was kind, he understood my case, he took my case personally, I give him that. And if I see that he's charging me beyond the scale, I drop. So on that part of charging, I give him 2. On the part of going to court on time, I give him 5. On the part of talking to me nicely, I give him 5. On the part of, so there's a part where I've given him a 2. That 2 will affect his net score.
He doesn't necessarily have to leave the scale. He could just be on the higher end of it.
Yeah, he will just basically, if he continues now charging above what people feel that he's fair, people keep docking the points.
Joram,
That
Joram Winamo on YouTube.
Yes.
Maybe we should discuss the cost of lack of integrity in healthcare, infrastructure, justice system. We have killed the nation over time and remain poor since mediocrity rules our governance system.
I agree with you
about
very
turn.
much, Joram, and that's what we're talking about today, right?
Right.
Integrity has cost us so much. That's the opening statement that Ranja was coming up with.
Yeah.
That integrity has cost us so much.
The lack
That's
of
why
integrity.
The lack of integrity has cost us so much. So how do we promote integrity?
Right.
How do we reward integrity? How do we incentivize integrity? Of course, the unspoken downside of it is we are punishing those without integrity. But we are not focusing on the punishment. We are focusing on how we are promoting those with integrity. Let's take a break. This conversation is open to debate. Today, we are saying shika mic, and we've given the mic to Andrew Ranja. Andrew Ranja has come in and said, we must make integrity cool again. Then the debate is, so how do we make integrity cool again? You can shika mic in the next hour. We'll open the phone lines, get onto our social media platforms. You're live streaming on YouTube, on Facebook. Share these and ask people, can we do the integrity score? You've sort of like got into a level where you're saying, is an integrity score a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah.
It's 8 a.m. We'll be back shortly. This is Fixing the Nation, one conversation at a time. Fixing the nation is not one person's responsibility. It's not President William Ruto's responsibility. It's not Raila Odinga's responsibility. It's not Uhuru Kenyatta's. It's you and I. It's our collective responsibility that we fix the nation together. And that's why we have this show this day and every weekday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., Fixing the Nation, one conversation at a time. It's Eric Latif, Janet Bogwa, and Mariam Bishar. And today we have a guest in studio. We'll be talking about what the guest is here to do, shikaing Mike. Now, there's what we're following up in the news as well. What we're expecting to see. The news fix.
That's
Mariam.
right. And former President Uhuru Kenyatta is set to brief the press today on the Nairobi peace process. Of course, it covers IGAD, the Great Lakes region, and of course, we are trying to see what he'll be talking about. There's the DRC crisis, unfortunately. Of course, the Sudan civil war might be also something that he wants to talk about. There's also the fact that the president of the Democratic Republic of Congo, that's Felix Tshisekedi, snapped the virtual East African Commission, EAC heads of state meeting that was called by William Ruto. That's quite the snub. There's also the fact that SADC and the EAC leaders will meet later in Dar tomorrow for peace talks on what's going on in the DRC. And Paul Kagame of Rwanda and Felix Tshisekedi of DRC have confirmed their attendance. Of course, you know that the fact that the DRC is accusing Rwanda-backed rebels of being the cause of this crisis. And the UN has said that more than 1,000 women have been raped by fellow inmates and burned alive in a jailbreak in Goma. Those are all things that are happening in the continent right now. Former President Uhuru Kenyatta may not touch on all of these, but I think the peace talks for sure will be a point of his. There's so much going on the continent, and I think he has the diplomatic hand that we need right now. This snubbing of the call, is it a signaling of our relations? Is it that our president lacks the diplomatic touch? Is it that the DRC is just wrapped up in its own, everything right
Layers
now?
of complexity.
Yeah, layers of complexity, and doesn't have time for this? I don't know. What does that mean? How
I
do
think
we
very many
interpret that?
layers into that. Some have even said there was, a layer of the SADC, because Tshisekedi had asked SADC to come in and help him, and that's why the South African soldiers were in the country, and saying this was his negotiation. That, we cannot have this conversation just as EAC. Remember the EAC mission and what President Uhuru Kenyatta will be talking about, the Nairobi process, and how our soldiers went to DRC and ended up coming back home. So Tshisekedi was probably using this as a negotiation and saying, we cannot just talk about it as EAC. We've got to bring in my other brothers. Yeah. And that's why now tomorrow in Arusha, SADC will be in this summit.
Right. Is
Maybe
it
that
Arusha
was what he wanted to.
Yeah, that's what he wanted to
inject.
To finya.
Yeah, to inject. Every Thursday, and Fixing the Nation, one conversation at a time, we'll be having one of you fixers joining us here. And it's about giving you the mic with an idea of how you'd like us to fix the nation. So the format will be very simple. It is the idea, come up with a statement, and then why? What's the problem? What's the problem statement? Why? Why are we doing this? What's the issue? Why do we need to fix whatever you're talking about? Then how do we fix it? And when you come here, we'll give you the mic, we'll tell you, shika mic, and take us through your idea. Today, the first ever person to be on the Shika Mic chair is Andrew Ranja. He is an active citizen. He is very big on integrity, and his big idea is make integrity cool again. Make integrity cool again. He says, let's all make integrity cool again. Let's all say, if I live with integrity, I am a very good person. If I live with integrity, I shall be recognized, I shall be promoted, I shall be celebrated. Make integrity cool again. We have advanced that conversation a little bit into saying, okay, so how do I know that this person has higher integrity than the other person? I mean, we must have a score. But Andrew, thank you very much for joining us. Before you then tell us more about what you've been doing on this journey of years of making integrity cool again, there's something we call, quotable quotes. Quotable quotes, somebody once said something that was relevant at that point, but is still relevant today and will be relevant in the future. And Janet will give you one of those quotes.
And what we do is we try and paint a picture of who this person could be, so you begin to guess. One hint that I can give is that their birth year is tied to their name. So, birth year is tied to their name. They are one of the main political players of our time. Right now, even as we speak. In fact, their name has been mentioned quite a few times during our news fix. I'll give you the quote. See if you can think who it is. I'm also happy to give another quote if you're like, help me out a little bit. The problem with this country is that everyone wants to be a politician, but nobody wants to work. Who said that?
Everyone wants to be a politician, but nobody wants to work.
Yes. And his birth year is tied to his name. He has an interesting way of playing with the microphone before he makes an address.
He does
He goes like this. He goes there.
That's adjusting, and we're switching languages.
Is that our former president, Uhuru Kenyatta?
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Was that what gave it away?
Yes.
When you see,
When you see, you know something is about to drop.
And as Mariam said, he's about to go into a different dialect.
Yes.
Straight from there.
Yeah.
he switches up really quickly.
Yeah.
But
What do
we're
you think he was saying actually? That I mean, why was he saying that? At what point was he saying that?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
What do you think he meant? Was he saying, I am the only one who wants to lead, so kindly candle? Let's not even go to an election.
I think it's maybe the nature of what politics has become. We've talked about the work we're doing educating youth about leadership, and I try and tell them that politics is about organizing people. To how do we help a group of people make a decision? So like the four of us here sitting and we say, what color do we want this room to be? That decision requires some democracy, some conversation, some committees. That's a political decision. But politics is also about leadership. It's about helping solving problems in community. It is about good governance. It's about just serving the community in that process of helping people live better and organizing society. But, and that's where the work is, and I believe that's what you're talking about, the work. But the way we've created our politics is about just making noise here and there, organizing a few goons to come, surround your car, and you stand on the top of the, your Prada, and, oya, watu wetu tunafanya watu wetu. So it's about just creating perceptions and power contests and position, and not the work.
Right.
Because the work is about serving people.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, that's a great way of breaking
Into
it
the
down.
integrity conversation, make integrity cool again. And you told us that you've been doing that. You've taken it upon yourself to fix this nation from the integrity perspective. So again, what have you been doing?
So I'm a politician, on top of being a
wants to
lawyer.
work.
Yes, who wants to work. And having ran for office, I have just observed on the campaign trail that it's the challenges we're having with integrity as a country, with corruption, start from the ground. If you talk to your average Kenyan, we will very readily blame our leaders and say, these guys have let us down, these guys are corrupt, these guys are mismanaging our taxes. But the leaders don't put themselves into office. They are elected. So I am the one who voted for a guy with a shady record, who can't explain his wealth, and put him in office, and then give him the power to make decisions. And so we want to figure out how can we shift that mindset, so that we tell Kenyans, I have to act with integrity. I have to operate in my community with integrity. I have to inspire my community to work with integrity, so that we inspire our nation to integrity. So we've started a movement called Team Safi, and we call ourselves Team Safi because we believe that we are cleaning up the politics of our country from the ground up. And of course, the word Safi is a simple way, or a symbolic way of just saying we are cleaning. Because the word integrity is hard to talk about on the ground. And so we desire to convince Kenyans that we need to put people, we need to create an integrity revolution in our country. We need to highlight and spotlight the people who are doing things right, so that we create a movement that can birth a political party, that can identify candidates who we say, these people we think we believe will act with integrity, and so that in 2027 we have a choice. We have inspired Kenyans. We have told them these are people of integrity we are presenting.
Right.
And then there is these others. You make the choice. Make a decision.
Reward those with integrity.
Yes, reward those with integrity. That is the work of Team Safi. And because we are drawing a line from me to my community to my country, we are saying safisha roho, safisha ground, and safisha taifa.
I like that. Safisha roho, safisha
Fix
ground.
your heart, fix the ground.
Fix the
Fix the
nation.
nation.
Fix the nation.
I like it. There's someone on YouTube, this is Benjamin Mwamburi, who says, our systems are adulterated, to hurt those who live with integrity, and to convince every other person that it is not that they did not act with integrity, it's just that they opted for convenience. So his issue, and he even asked later, how do we then make it cool, and what do we do for the people who can't afford that convenience, who can't afford, the bribery, etc., the lack of integrity even. And he was speaking to my question about punishing poverty through this integrity score. He's asking, isn't poverty already punished dearly? So I think the question there then becomes, how do we make it sustainable? And by sustainable, I don't just mean long term, I mean even in the short term, to act with integrity, despite all odds. And I know we've gone about that question in many different ways, but it's just, is there really a way to make it easy for us to act with integrity? It goes back to what Janet had said, but yeah, how do we make it easy? So we're not punishing you when you don't act with integrity.
I don't know why we should not punish. Okay, but go on.
When you don't act with integrity because you're in a position where you can't. Not the choice, not when you're actively choosing to be a criminal. I mean, those situations where we've painted, sometimes it's life or death, it's do I sleep hungry or not, it's...
A lot of people are speaking to, if we had a system that works, then we would. Benjamin Mwamburi, and maybe Andrew has already alluded to this, how do we get integrity in governance? How do we get integrity in politics? What is it you're trying to drive with Team Safi? And I think you'll come and tell us that. But a lot of people are alluding to the fact that if you made it, if the system made it more appealing for me to move with integrity, then it would allow me to adjust to the system.
I know what
that
he's
allows
going
it.
to say.
That's what a lot of
meant
people
to
are
be
saying.
easy. Integrity
No,
isn't meant
it's
to
actually
be easy.
easy. I want to counter that and say, before Andrew you come in, look, as a society, we already have ways of promoting integrity. Okay? It's just that we have minimized those ways of promoting integrity. Like we said, a person with integrity will get respect in the local community.
Yes.
Because of their integrity. But over time, we've started bringing in people with lack of integrity and starting promoting them. I always give this example. This guy is a delinquent in the village, and everybody knows, Huyu Jama, if you leave your clothes outside when they're hanging, he passes by, he'll pass with them. And everybody knows. In fact, when visitors come to this person's home, someone is assigned, Mariam,
Ingia bedroom.
kana Randa, uangalie movement yake, asiende kwa gari ya wageni, aanze kuvunja vitu, kuiba side, akienda karibu na handbag ya mtu. We already know that this person, who this person is.
Yeah.
Kidogo, this person gets a job with the county government. Okay? Somehow he lands a job. He starts coming back home with a kaka. He starts building a house. You know, within a year of this guy who was here, just stealing chicken and people's clothes and raiding people, visitors' handbags, is now starting to build a home and coming back home. By the end of that year, this person is then called to be the guest of honor at the next church Harambe. Okay?
Yeah.
This is what we've started doing. Instead of just saying, we are questioning, wewe tunakujua, you work as just a clerk in the county assembly. How have you suddenly gotten this much wealth? We stopped questioning that. But we know what integrity is. And we've been rewarding integrity. Let's just go back to rewarding that integrity. And just finding a way of rewarding integrity and even telling other people, by the way, ukiona Andrew, hebu angalia score yake. Umjue. It's a referral system that I'm saying we create. It's a reward system. Forget about the punishment.
Yeah.
Because the implication is punishment.
Yes.
When you reward those who have integrity, it means that those who don't have integrity are not getting as many rewards as possible. So I say, let's create a score. Let's find a way of creating a score where I can come and check references. We ask for references at work. I come and check references on this public open source platform that scores you, that gives you a public score, what your peers and people who have worked with you, people who have interacted with you, what they say about you, okay?
Right.
Then I have this score. I walk around with my kabaj, which is 9, or I have a 9. You can just go and check. If I come into a hospital, right, I have a high score, then I'm allowed to jump the queue. Okay? This is somebody with integrity. Let's reward it.
Yeah.
If I go into a financial institution, a bank, and my integrity score is high, which includes all those other things, it has CRB in it, it has LSK in it, it has my neighbors in it, it has police in it, it has KRA in it, and my score is high, then it allows me leeway to negotiate up to 0.5 or 0.9% interest downwards.
If I have integrity, I wouldn't need to jump the line. I feel like
Thank you.
I really
That's
like
one.
that.
It allows you.
It allows you, so it gives you privileges,
It allows
which
you.
again, you almost feel tempted to begin to interrogate those privileges, right?
Right.
So I can see it, by the way. I can see the score and everything. I can see how it's radical.
Yeah.
But I can also see a way that it really forces you, quote unquote, to adjust. Adjusting to integrity would be a dream. You know what I mean? For somebody to wake up and say, I don't have a choice today but to move with integrity. I don't have a choice today but to do the right thing and to try everything within my power, and for those who lean on God, to just do everything the right way.
And in the end, people will clap for you. In the end, people will say, Andrew Ranja, great Kenya with integrity.
I think
Okay?
there's a
By
little bit of,
scoring you.
there's a little bit of utopianism that we're living in here. When a system is not built to work in a certain way, you will not game it to work for you. I think that's what we need to underscore
And
here.
by system here, we mean?
By and I mean the flaws, quote unquote, in our systems that make us or whatever lead us into doing things that are wrong, ethically, morally, corrupt, etc. They are not there by mistake. Those gaps are there to enable the system to work as it is. The traffic light doesn't work, so that there's a police officer, so that then he stops you, then you give the bribe, okay? The court system is slow, so then you feel the need to do this. I need a certificate of good conduct to be able to get a job. That's not accidental. I need to have my tax compliance certificate. That is extremely hard to get. I want to get a passport and travel outside because I've got a job opportunity and they know how desperate I am. So then they give a premium for you to jump the line. It's like, if you have 10K, that passport will be here in 24 hours. Those are not glitches in the system. Those are very much how it's meant to work. So I don't think you will game the system and suddenly make it work for integrity with an integrity score. When the fundamental thing is what you're working with is rotten, you're not going to game it to work for
That's
you.
very interesting. Before we bring Ranja, Winnie Jaffet says, celebrity engagement, use Kenyan celebrities, sports figures, and other well-respected public figures to speak about the importance of integrity.
Yes.
So let's think on that a little bit and just celebrate, I think, and give credit to those who moved with integrity. Before then, did you want to respond?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I wanted to combine something that one of the people responding, Joram, said, and combine that with something Mariam was saying. A lot of us in Kenya, a lot of people in Kenya find themselves struggling with integrity dilemmas, not because we want to be corrupt. In fact, we feel very guilty about it. But many times you're just stuck. Yes, you need your child to go to a school, and and someone is trying to get a bribe out of you, and so you decide, okay, let me just get the child in the good school. And so we have all these kinds of scenarios, and I think the first step in making integrity cool is to change the perception. We have to shift the narrative because we want to change how we think about it and not necessarily look for an external structure like a law or even a score. I need to change how I think about it. One of the things to change is there is a perception that integrity comes at a cost. And we've talked about this, and we have also said that sometimes it's inconvenient. But let's take a simple example that we face every day on our roads. You approach a junction, and of course, integrity is to stop. Approach the junction with the intention of giving way. But because no one wants to give way, and all of us are looking for the convenient way to go about it, we end up clogging the junction and we all get stuck. So then the convenience we were looking for disappears, because if I look for convenience, then we all start looking for convenience. And in the process, we mess up the system. So if you apply that to even at a country level, I give a little bribe for convenience, but a nurse somewhere is demanding a bribe for convenience. So my mother in the village cannot get services. Someone, a tax collector, KRA person is asking, so my goods get stuck. So by looking for personal convenience, we're actually creating a system of inconvenience. And so the price of corruption is so much higher than the price of integrity. And so how do we help our people to figure those things out?
There's such an unlearning that needs to happen. It is an unlearning, because you're right, when you end up doing the wrong thing, or if you don't move from a point of integrity, you end up causing sort of like a barrier for you, and then that kind of spreads across. So it's so much of a mentality shift. And when I think people have inculcated a culture of pushing for convenience that's almost been talked about for decades, how then do you begin to slowly unlearn?
You need to be encouraged.
You need to be encouraged and inspired.
Incentivized.
By a score. Listen, let's agree, okay?
Eric's integrity score.
That the issue of integrity has been talked about for very many years. For very many years. We came up with an EACC because of integrity. We put it in our constitution because of integrity. We talk about our values. Even the BBI, much as I was against it, it had an issue there of, one of the things that came out of the BBI report and the team that went around said our moral values are broken. If you listen to the people who talk about our moral values, our systems, what charity the government has from just a community level, we are losing integrity. And that's why I believe when you say, let's make integrity cool again, it's because it is losing its cool. It has lost its cool. There's a generation that's growing up here not seeing the cool side of integrity. Now we need shock therapy. We can't say that, yeah, we'll be doing that. Yeah, we'll be talking about, the importance of this and the other. But like I said, we are a people, human beings deal with rewards and incentive. You tell a child, behave this way, here's a sweet. You tell a child, work hard, pass the exam, here, you're number one. Here is the prize for number one. Run very fast, Omanyala, get the gold, right? We do like that. So how do we do? Inject immediately and say, let's all of us create a definition of integrity. Let's all of us then say how we identify somebody with integrity. And let's all of us then deal with people with integrity. And we want to hear from you. How do we make integrity cool again? On all our social media platforms, on YouTube, on X, on Facebook, on TikTok, where we are live streaming, on Nation, and you can also call in. We have Felix on the line. Felix in Dagoretti, good morning. Thank you for calling in. How do we make integrity cool again?
Hello. Good morning. Good morning.
Hi, Felix.
Morning. I'm Festus Mwati from Kaita.
We have a couple of people on the line, so let's just sort that out, and then we'll come back onto that line. So there's the thing I'm pushing here is saying, we've got to be radical. We does not mean that we'll stop doing what Ranja is doing. You're continuing to do the we are clean people. We are working on integrity. We are continuing to talk like that. You go to your religious organizations, religious places of worship, and the religious leaders are preaching to us about integrity, about virtue. It's okay. Yes. The law says we shall punish those who break the law. That means the people who lose integrity. Okay? If you steal, there's punishment for it. If you jump the light, there's punishment for it. If you are disorderly, there's punishment for it. There are levels of punishment, whether it's 6 months, whether it's just community service, but it's punishment. But then this other one is saying, so collectively, how do we define integrity? Right?
Right.
We already have the building blocks. We have CRB is a building block. We have tax compliance, a building block. We have, from HELB, it's a building block. We already have those. We have the scores. You're a driver and you drive a using a hailing app. And you're already being scored. As a person, you're already being scored. How do we then integrate and increase more?
And have
have it all available publicly. So if I go in and query, the way nowadays we query NTSA and ask, whose car is this? If I go onto this public platform that is blockchain protected and query Mariam Bishar credit score, it comes in and tells me 8.5. Then I see, okay, she passes a certain level.
Right. Yeah. My only reservation, takeaway, problem, whatever, with this is it works in a utopian world or in a much, 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 much better society than the one we are currently in. Okay. We're about to take a call, but I'll just say, if the system itself right now is built for corruption and convenience and all those things, we won't be able to have the integrity side come through unless we dismantle it. But let's get into a caller. I know there's someone on the line. That's Felix. Good morning. We want to know your take on this corruption, integrity, everything in between. EACC conversation. Tuko Integrity Center, Leo. Theoretically.
Hello, hi.
Hi, Felix.
Yes, how are you doing this morning?
We are good, thank you, and thank you for calling in. What's your take? How do we make integrity cool again?
For me, I can just say people should be able to live with the utmost faith and integrity by not taking bribes. That's one of the most things to avoid corruption in Kenya. Just be faithful and not take bribes. Once you don't take bribes, you can be able to go far away. can be successful even in your career.
All right, so how do I know that Felix is a person who does not take bribes just by looking at Felix? I'm dealing with Felix in whatever you do. Let's say I'm your customer. How do I know that you're a person of integrity?
So by giving out product faithfully, not maybe for example when I'm selling a product, but one way of showing integrity is not by overcharging that particular price, that product. So once you don't overcharge or overtake the things that you're selling, that's one of the things that shows that you're keeping integrity. So being faithful even to your services that you're offering, telling the truth about the product and services. So those are some of the acts that may make one to uphold integrity. And people will respect that.
All right. Felix, what do you think of Eric's idea of an integrity score?
The score. Once you have the highest score, that means that now you're the person of integrity.
Mm-hmm.
The low score will be able to make you will degrade your integrity and your services out there. And the person that has the highest score, that means that this person is not taking bribes, right?
Yeah.
That's what I understood from the conversation.
So you're for it, yeah?
Sorry?
You like it?
The highest score, it means that you're not taking bribes, right? That's the highest score, right? Okay. That's what I understood. But yes. You're right to correct me.
No, you did. You got it right. Thank you, Felix. I think I'm trying to get Andrew's view on the flip side of this, because no one is addressing the concerns of what we're working with. Our foundation is fundamentally flawed. It would be nice to rate each other and to have integrity scores in a perfect world where we already have, where we are starting, tunaanza upya, like, fresh foundation. But as of now, we're used to convenience, we're used to bribery, we're used to getting out of every little thing with a lack of integrity.
How do we fix the system?
I was going to say, how do we reset the system? How do we fix the system?
Let's take a break. We come back and Ranja, you'll take that one, right?
Yes.
How do we fix what people feel is a broken system? We are fixing the nation this morning. Eric Latif, Mariam Bishar, and Janet Bogo, and our guest Andrew Ranja, who is an active citizen who stands for integrity. And today we've given him the mic, and he's taken the mic and said, we've got to fix this nation by making integrity cool again. Do you agree with him? We'll take more of your calls after this break.
Hey, yo, what's up? This is Oponyakole Eugene from Riara Gardens, and I'm here just wondering, and I have questions in my mind. You can see the government led by President Ruto is forming their own team for 2027 elections. You can see the opposition led by Kalonzo Musyoka and Rigathi Gachagua and Eugene Wamalwa. They are forming their team. Which team are we forming as young people? Where are we as youth? Yet this country is composed of 70% of the young people. Where are we?
Good morning. Wake up. Yeah. Chugai, Kivua Meru hapa hivi. Tuko na Dios, tuko huku Maua Massives, Meru of course. Tuko Jiama Miti. Tunajituma, fixing the nation. Sini watu wa stima, tunekea watu wa Maua stima.
I'm Lazo from Kikuyu. I believe fixing the nation requires inclusiveness and identity, and I'm speaking on behalf of the street families, street youth who are most of the times denied access to ID cards by chiefs and the register of persons. So can the government fix this issue by allowing the chiefs and the register of persons to give ID cards to the street families?
Beautiful, right? When you see, and that's what we want. We want to create a community of fixers. From wherever you are, we'd like to hear from you every morning. Just go on to WhatsApp, record yourself on a video, send us that video, and you'll appear on WhatsApp Nation telling us all about you. The format is name, where you are from, and then fungua roho. Sema ikutoke. What are the numbers again?
On WhatsApp, 0112 500 400, 0112 500 400. It's on your screen right now as well. I know you can see it. And of course, you can send that video. Chukua in landscape, as we have said many, many times before, hivi. And then, of course, we'll be more than happy to share what's on your mind, what's going on. Alafu na uko wapi vile Eric amesema. And on the number for calling us in studio, 0719 038 858. That's 0719 038 858.
Indeed. Today and every Thursday, we'll be giving one of you the mic to come and give us your ideas of fixing the nation. Our first person getting the Shika mic today is Andrew Ranja. We told him Shika mic. He said, Asante sana. I'd like us to make integrity cool again. And now we've been discussing, so how do we make integrity cool again? And we're opening up the conversation to you as well, and everywhere on social media and on call. We've got a call on the line. Jackso, director. What's the name of the caller? Esther from Taita. Good morning. Festus.
Festus Mwasi.
Yes, Festus. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Very well. Asante sana for calling in. What's your thoughts?
Okay, can I put
how do we make
Swahili?
Zungumza kwa Kiswahili, asante. How do we make integrity cool again? Hebu sema hivyo kwa Kiswahili.
Ningependa kutoa maoni yangu kwa ufupi. Kwa nini tunakosa integrity? Halo.
Tuendelee.
Mambo mengi yamechangiwa na ukabila. Na kuwa kwamba tuna vote kwa wingi wa kura. Na tukienda kwa wingi wa kura utakuta kabila ndogo. Tuseme kwa mfano, tuchukue mfano wa kiongozi kama aliyekuwa Mwandaviro Muranga. Ambao wengi wanamjua tu kwa sababu ya kutoa CDF ambayo hata yeye hapati hata uhuru. Sijui kama unanielewa.
Tuendelee.
If we needed leaders who qualify for integrity, is one of those leaders. Lakini kwa sababu ya wingi, watu wanakuwa kwa wingi wa kura. That is why tunaendelea kurudia waizi, tukiendelea kurudia waizi.
Festus.
Sasa ukisikia wale wa viongozi
naomba nikatize kidogo. Sasa wachana na viongozi. Wewe kama Festus mwenyewe. Right? How do you fix integrity in our community?
In our community, especially we leaders. Kama tutataka tuwe na integrity, lazima kila mtu apite through. Tujue kama kiongozi fulani hajahusika hata na wizi hata siku moja. Unanielewa?
Tutajuaje?
And we can account for whatever he has. Kama mimi niko na utajiri fulani, lazima watu waujue umetoka wapi. Hapa tunachimba madini. Ni kweli huyu mtu ni madini aliuza akawa na hii pesa yote. Lakini sisi hatuangalii hiyo. Hadi tu umekuja na pesa, leo hii nakuta wewe ndio mbunge wangu. Wewe ndio waziri wangu. Na huyo waziri juzi nilikuwa naambiwa ni mwizi. So Kenya, mimi juzi nilikuwa Tanzania. Hata ukienda kwa choo Tanzania, saa hii utasikia ukirudi tu utasikia ule mwizi labda ameenda kuiba kwa choo. Sasa unaniambia hii nchi yetu imefika wapi?
Kabisa. We get your point, Festus.
Hata kwa choo. So it is our leaders who should change. Whatever they are doing is not good. Unasikia kiongozi anasema ngojeni siku ya election. Najua tutaipa kura. Sasa wewe kama unaongea hivyo, surely mimi nataka nikuulize, hata kama tunasema integrity, hawa wadogo wetu, hata mtoto wangu anajua tayari babangu ni mwizi. How will you change that nini kwa kisha yake utabadilisha namna gani?
Sawa Festus. Asante sana. Thank you for calling, and you can call, and the numbers are on the screen, 0719-038-858. We'd like to hear from you. Also on social media, on YouTube, the live stream, on Facebook, the live stream, on X, on Instagram, on TikTok. Ranja, so how do you react to what he's saying? Because what I feel is we keep looking at elsewhere. And not when you talk about integrity.
Right.
Talk about leaders.
Yes.
We're talking about systems.
Come for me directly. Talk to me directly.
Talk to me directly. Everyone looking everywhere and at everyone except ourselves. Within. Why is it so hard for people to look within themselves? What makes it so triggering and difficult to call yourself to a meeting?
There's a pastor who once told us in church that we always judge ourselves by our intentions, but we judge others by their actions. So if I see, if I need to give a bribe because, I'm in a difficult situation, my intention wasn't to give a bribe. I was trying to sort my things out. But if I see someone else giving a bribe, then I'm judging their action. So we always judge ourselves by our intentions. And so if I'm looking at my intentions, then my intentions are usually good. Yes, and I think that makes it hard.
Where can somebody like Festus start? He has said, Kiongozi, the leadership, Shida, they're the ones who make us. Somebody like him who's listening, you can tell he's frustrated. I know we all are, but at the same time, there's that looking inward while we look around. So for a lot of people like Festus, what's the 1, 2, 3 steps to begin to, I guess, rethink our role in integrity as we also look out and hope that leadership can also move with integrity? What's those steps that somebody can take?
I think so. What we want to do, what we believe is necessary, as I've said before, is shifting this narrative so that we encourage people like Festus. Because there is, in a sense, you feel frustrated and you feel alone. You feel like you're the only one who's dealing with this problem. And why are Kenyans like this? And maybe to Mariam's point, the system is rigged. And it does seem rigged, and it is overwhelming. But part of the shift in this narrative of integrity is we need to stop moving from a point of a siege mentality. We me. We Aki, let's do integrity. You know, Aki, it's the better thing to do. Aki, you know, you'll go to heaven. Yes, you will go to heaven, but you know, let's turn the narrative of integrity into a narrative of power. Let's operate from a position of integrity is good. Integrity is powerful. Like I said, everything that we do is everything that is good in our lives is founded on integrity. Our relationships, our friends, everything that we have. Now, shifting the narrative is not easy because we are trying to shift how people are thinking. In the spirit of being radical, Eric wants to be very radical. Disclaimer, the Hustler Nation campaign. I didn't support it. I didn't believe in it. But I learned something from it. Because I was campaigning for a seat in Kiambu, on the ground, huko kwetu, Mount Kenya, Kikuyu land. And the success of the Hustler Nation campaign is that it managed to shift your average Kikuyu voter from voting as a Kikuyu to voting as a hustler. And believing in this guy who says, I was a chicken seller and now I am this. And so you and me, we are together. We are hustlers and we can succeed. Our only enemy is the dynasties. And so that shifted. A whole community shifted from the history of how we vote and the historical patterns to almost an issue-based, if you would like to call it that. Now,
almost, yeah. Just let me put a pin right there, just so we can take a call.
Yes.
But you are right; it did make a very significant shift for us. We want to take a call. Jane Murage from Dubai. Good morning, Jane.
Good morning. How are you?
Very, very good. What do you think of this? First of all, Eric's integrity score, and this entire idea that it starts with me. Integrity starts with me, not with the system, not with the government, not with anyone else.
I completely agree with that, but I also feel like we are so real, like we need something to jumpstart us. Because integrity is doing what is right even though nobody is watching. But like the system has made it so difficult. Like I would rather pay a bribe and get away with my crime than have to go through the whole system. As much as I know I'm doing the right thing, it's probably not harming anyone. It's just for my convenience. So I feel like, yeah, it could start with us, but are we willing to? It's easier said than done, to be honest.
And Jane,
how do we jumpstart?
How do we jumpstart? How do we make integrity cool again? So to Mariam's point, how do we jumpstart it? And then how do we make it a cool thing that everybody feels that they need to participate in?
I feel like the only way that works with people is if you make it like a law. I'm sure you guys have watched Black Mirror. There's this point where you can, what's it called? Like you can see what somebody is thinking, or like there's evidence. You can't lie. There's no way to lie. Like I can access you. I know it's a bit intrusive, but also like kind of makes sense, right?
It's radical,
and also,
but
there is
yes.
also, exactly. That's the kind of radical I'm talking about. And also, like for example, when you do something against like the traffic, instead of paying money, or instead of dealing with a policeman, points are automatically taken off your driving license. I feel like would be more. We're not doing it from I'm a good person perspective. It's a fear perspective, or if I don't do this, this will happen, and eventually it will become part of our system.
Jane,
because right now
you.
we are down, we are doing so badly. Starting from, I don't know,
credit score 0.
Actually, no.
Yeah.
We actually are starting.
Thank you. Yeah.
All of us are starting from a very high score.
Oh.
Okay. Already.
It's to maintain it.
Yes. It's. Oh, we're starting from a very high score, and it's just you're losing.
Yeah.
Okay.
If, for example, to address the system issue, and I know Jen is still on the line. I don't know whether she's dropped off, but Jen, we thank you very much for this. I'm saying we're already at a point where we are starting on a high, and I agree with what Jen you're saying, that if you make a traffic infraction, then we are fixing the system in such a way that it docks you points. If a cop asks you for a bribe, you rate the cop as well. You see, the cop is a human being, is a Kenyan just like you and I. We are also rating the cop.
So we rate
everybody,
everything. Okay.
Yeah, 360. So eventually,
that could work. Let's go mano
you go to a public office.
5 star for 5 star. I like that.
I like that.
You go to a public office, and this public officer who has a name tag on them, and they are not serving you well, you are rating them.
Okay.
So even the bosses can see, wait, you are a customer service officer, but my friend, people are not having confidence in you.
That's true. Sami Mutiga on YouTube, nimesema imenitoka, and saying he's loving this, fixing the nation from Committee Road. We really appreciate that. Daniel Crisper, that's very interesting. Most of us judge ourselves by our intentions rather than our actions, and vice versa, and that it's ironic. I'm glad that there's that interrogation right now of self. And I think we need more of that. Like I said, people struggle with facing self. And I think when you're doing it, extend grace to yourself while you're doing it, because I think people fear. Sometimes people say if you take too long looking at yourself within, you won't like what you find there. But I think you need to start there.
Do
and
the hard
extend
work.
Grace.
Yeah.
Do the hard work, but extend grace, be gentle with yourself.
Benjamin Momburi is saying, yes, it should be a radical shift in our thinking. And that's why I think Ranja said that what they're trying to change the mindset of the average Kenyan voter. I am agreeing with you, Ranja, that you're changing the mindset. The only thing I'm not getting is, apart from just coming and collecting people and doing a crusade and saying, you know what, people, integrity is good, integrity is cool, integrity is rewarding. How else do we do it?
You know, I want to go back to what Jane said. And thank you, Jane, for your comment about a jump start. And I was talking about the Hustler campaign. And it's interesting that that campaign ended up being a victim of its own success. 2 years after, after the elections, our youth, our Gen Z, decided, we don't have to listen to the established structures. We are going to rise up for what we believe are rights. We're going to challenge the system, and we're going to be tribeless, we're going to be leaderless, and those kind of things. So that was we already had a jump start, and it is being led by our Gen Zs, our youth, and they're showing us as older people, I think we are millennials here in Gen X, that it is possible for us to shift, and we've started. They've challenged the system, and now we need to take it to phase 2. We got into the problems that led to the protest because of lack of integrity.
Yes.
So what are we going to do about it come 2027? Can we again shift to the next level for saying, let's make integrity cool. Let's highlight the people, spotlight the people, and celebrate them who are doing well. Let's inspire the nation. Let's use the social media influencers that someone talked about to
people,
drive that message.
I love that. People like Eliud Kipchoge, I think. Yes. I like the way somebody said, let's talk about Kenyans who move with integrity. And you can share as well on the comments on who you think moves with integrity. But there's a message here. I know it's on our WhatsApp, and they'll tell us where it's from. But Steve Kaggs, who's tuned in from South Sudan, Juba, we need to take time and study Japan as an integrity benchmark, who have over a long time embraced a conformist society where harmony, mutual respect, and group consensus is greatly valued, getting to a point where there is value to a name, a point where generations after Eric, Janet, Mariam, they can be considered for opportunities based on the respect and reputation pegged to their names. This goes beyond integrity, but also impact and kindness. So thank you for that, Steve.
It really is a mindset thing. And Susan Macquarie on YouTube says the same thing. Mindset issue. Change the shortcut narrative that is prevalent in this country, all the way from education system to how we conduct ourselves at home. The score is only a start.
Yeah.
So maybe the score is this jump starter that we need.
It is. And it forms the basis of everything else that we do.
Okay, nimevuka mpaka, guys. It's not so bad.
It forms the basis. Because every conversation that we are having, and welcome to this side, Mariam, every conversation that we start having and saying, you know, how are you as a person? Because that's when you meet somebody new, the question that you ask yourself is, how is this person?
Not do they look nice?
It's because of how they looked at you, how they approached you, how they were talking. You know, they were the loud person across the table, and you're thinking, hey, you know, we already create our own scores of integrity, and we already judge ourselves. So even before we start going into the government and government services at local levels, how do I know just by looking at you and interacting with you that you're a person of integrity? I already know. There's somehow how I feel. Are you a warm person? Are you a caring person? Are you listening? I will score you highly on those grounds, right? And the next person will come and see, actually, this person has been, you know, highly rated as a warm person. So I'm willing to listen to them. I'm willing to trade with them. Their word is their bond. I can see other people have said that. We do that all the time. Even on Facebook today, you'll find people saying, yeah, this is a good person. You like, you don't like. You endorse, you don't endorse. That is all scoring. So it's not a new thing.
When it's done
Buyer beware
this
is doing all that all the time.
When it's done this formally, though, I think then we need to find serious checks and balances for how we do the scoring, how we protect each other from the biasness that comes with just being a human. Because those biases are intrinsic in our interactions, but when it is on paper, that's a whole different ball game. So if you can find ways to check and balance, and someone can say, you scored me badly because you were terrible, not me. You threw up in my cab and you gave me the bad score. Like,
it's all right.
Going on here?
I think it'll come into the averages.
Okay.
Yes.
One person for this particular day had a bad day, bad mood, they scored you badly. But you know, that's not the only person you've interacted with that day. So if all the others are now saying positive things, your score is not affected by the one.
Yeah.
It's affected by the many.
Let's take our last call, I think, for this segment. Who do we have on the line? Samuel Mwai. All right. Samuel from Nairobi, I hope you can hear us. What are your contributions? Do we need an integrity score? How do we hold ourselves accountable as well?
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, Samuel. Go ahead.
Personally, I feel like there are corruption incidents which can be justifiable.
Samuel, you're quite low. If you just speak a bit louder.
I was saying.
Go ahead. Okay. I think there's a...
Hello, can you hear me?
We are better, much better.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Samuel Mwai, spec your contribution, please.
I think there are corruption incidences that can be justifiable from a public point of view.
Okay. Example? Samuel, for example?
We have an issue with that
Let's
line.
say I'm going to Westlands for a meeting and I'm late. Let's say I'm going to Westlands for a meeting and I'm late.
Let's drop this call. I think Samuel Mwai, we have an issue with the call.
For like overspeeding.
Let's just drop the call because we are not getting it and it's not coming in well. But then there are very many issues that come up here, and as we come to wrap up this conversation, all right, you've taken the mic. We'll give you the last mic as well. But let's start from, what we think. How do we fix integrity in our society, in our people? This is fixing we as a people.
We're going around to give a sentence on how we think we can do it. I think we have to look inward, and I think we have to be patient because we keep wanting a quick fix on integrity. There is no quick fix. It's a balance of checking yourself, checking your surroundings, checking your leadership, and allowing time for all of that to come together and just not losing hope and saying, "Ay, nimengoja 1 year, nothing is checking. Let me just go." So I think checking inward, and progress is fragile. Give it time.
All right. Whew. I think tuanze tu upya. We have to forgear and start afresh. With what we're working with, all this good intentioned things are very unlikely to actually come into something. We have a well-intentioned constitution, well-intentioned laws, no. But we are not well-intentioned in our actions. So unless we start afresh, I don't know what starting afresh looks like. So I'm very open to ideas, by the way, hashtag Fixing the Nation and TV. But that's where I'm at right now. Actually,
I say mine is, let's find a way in which all of us as a community are supporting and promoting those with integrity. And that's why I say let's create an integrity score. We can crowdsource it. We can then have ways in which people just do it, just like the way we rate our drivers, we rate our border guys, we rate our hotels and restaurants that we go to, we rate people. Let's just do that at a wider scale and start saying, so and so, I celebrate Ranja because he is a person of integrity. Shika mic, Maraya Mwisho, Ranja.
I think that we have to communicate the cost of lack of integrity, the cost of corruption. In our hospitals, cost of corruption is death. On our roads, cost of corruption is death or injury. If you have a mjengo and you're trying to build a house, cost of corruption is your 20 million budget will become a 40 million budget. And your building could collapse. So again, corruption is dangerous. We need to stop stealing. We need to safisha roho. Stop stealing, stop bribing, and stop cheating. That's where we start. Safisha roho.
Thank you very much. Andrew Ranja, he comes in and says, let's make integrity cool again. Safisha roho. Do everything from a clean point.